I do believe that we are co-creating our experience. Absolutely. Like the quantum field is real. And, you know, we could be in simultaneous places at once, past, present, and future. And we are creating as we are thinking things and feeling things into being. You know, we are co-creating with the universe.
Yes.
I do believe that strongly. And
Brooke,
hi.
welcome. I'm so happy to have you in the studio.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. And you know, I love the way that I just love the way the world works in general. Like, and I'm glad that I get to say this to you like today, sort of in the midst of all sorts of life insanity and whatever. But the way, you know, you and I have like floated in and out of each other's lives, and I've always really admired your mojo, frankly, you know, and your artistry, which comes in numerous forms. And I think the first thing I'm really curious about is when was the first spark that you knew you had this artist in you?
Oh my goodness. I think I was always kind of a very spunky little kid. And I remember I was at it was at Clifton's cafeteria. And
what state are we in?
It was in Century City in Los Angeles.
Okay.
They had a Clifton's. There was an original one downtown, and I was with my mom at the one in Century City.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of, I don't know what I was doing. I was kind of jumping around and just being myself and just like a bit animated. And this woman came up to me and just said, "Do you ever want to act? I'm a manager." And I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, that sounds amazing. So she, for years, took me on auditions. And I went out commercially. I booked my second commercial. I was 11 years old, if I can remember correctly. And I booked like this Toys R Us General Foods commercial. And I just, from there, I was done. I was like, I'm going to be an actress. So I think it started then, this sort of spirit of creativity and wanting to perform and sort of, you know, I kind of had that energy always.
Did you grow up in a creative household?
I did. I mean, my mom always worked at MGM Studios, and she worked for, you know, different executives. So more in the spirit of, you know, she was more of like an assistant, but she always really encouraged my creativity. And my dad too. My dad was a magician at the Magic Castle.
Oh my
for years.
Gosh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a magician at the Magic Castle, and so I would go there for years. I couldn't really go in because it was like 21 and over, but I could go to the brunches, and he would show me all the things, and he was kind of a fixture there for years in the 70s and early 80s. And he discovered like the dancing stick and would escape from straitjackets and do sleight of hand. And
wow.
Yeah. And he had, he was also a hairstylist, barber for years. He would integrate magic and hair for kids called Magic Hair.
Oh my God, this is
And
amazing.
he opened it in like all the Robinson's Maze and like, so that was really cool. And he was just, my dad was also very, you know, creative in that way, but would kind of a man of many colors, would do different things all the time. And he even had a radio show towards the end of his life called Detox Radio.
Wow.
Yeah. What
was that about?
Detox Radio was really about recovery, spirituality and recovery.
Okay.
And he would talk to people about addiction and recovery.
Beautiful.
And sort of how to move through that because he was a recovering addict.
Yeah.
And so I was on it a few times doing like poetry, and he'd have me call in. It was up in Washington State in Seattle area on AM radio.
Amazing.
And I would call in and sort of do these like, you know, poems, and was really sweet that we sort of had that.
Yeah, I love that. Did he ever reveal the magic behind the magic to you when you were a kid?
No,
Okay,
it was
like true magician.
It was a magician.
Like you do not give
He
up.
didn't show me.
Wow.
He didn't show me. No.
And so, because I'm already thinking, I'm like, wow, to really like grow up, with an actual magician in your house has to be different than, of course, just being a kid at a party and seeing magic. Yeah. And how did that inform you in terms of your connection with spirit? Because I'm going to say that I sometimes do equate spirit with magic, because it's this unseen, you don't exactly understand how it works, but it does, you know, and this stuff happens or appears or whatnot. And so I find them to be concentric circles. Yeah. So I get my question is, I guess, did the magic inform you spiritually?
I mean, absolutely. My dad I didn't really grow up in a house with my dad, because my dad, he got remarried and all of that. So it did definitely infuse in me and affect me, that kind of magic. Mm-hmm. But the magic that I think was really powerful was the magic that I felt through creativity and through acting and through performing. And I went to, a school that had a lot of that. Mm-hmm. I went to Beverly Vista and Beverly High, and I always sort of, had this joy for that kind of performance. And I also loved playing tennis, which I still play, and, just this active, sense of play. And I feel like, I really felt inspired by acting and creativity, and it kind of transferred into other forms from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there like a pivotal moment that it was like, okay, now I can't unsee, this sort of, unsee the spirit side of the street?
Right. Oh, absolutely. I started actually practicing Buddhism from an acting teacher. Her name was Brooke Benson. She's an amazing actress. And my mom and I were introduced through Brooke, and with the same name as me. Yeah. And I would go to these Buddhist meetings, and I would hear the chanting, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, but I would hear this chanting, and it was like I could hear horns in the chanting. I could hear rhythms in the chanting, and it would rise above, and I could hear this sound, and it just made me happy. It made my mom happier, and, we've been able to transform a lot in our relationship through the practice, and I have seen very mystic things and magic things, and I feel like it was definitely activated through the practice.
Wow. Can you share one of them? Because I geek out on those stories, those mystic moments of like, this makes zero earthly sense, and yet it's totally happening.
Exactly. No, I completely feel that. I mean, it even it happens all the time now, but it's like I'll literally be driving and I'll hear something on the radio, and it'll just, let's say it's an incredible day, but it's even more unique than that, and I'll look over and there's a sign that says, it's an incredible day. It'll be that exact line, when I hear it and you see it, and it's like the simultaneity of cause and effect.
Yes.
And it shows up in that way for me a lot through words and like numbers and like this numerological, Kabbalistic, mystic Buddhist thing,
Yes.
That's this sort of synchronistic cosmic energy that shows up in the form of, lines or things or, signs.
Yes.
Literal signs.
Literal signs.
Yeah.
I get that all the time through license plates.
Oh, yes.
It's like a big, it started years and years ago while I was in LA, which still years ago. I've been here almost 30 years.
Wow.
I can't even believe I'm saying that. And
you're a local.
Yeah, I guess so. Don't tell the New Yorkers. But I used to see first my initials. And I thought, that's really interesting. Why am I all of a sudden seeing my initials? And so spirit started to talk to me as like people say God wink. I call it a spirit wink.
Yes.
But it was like, okay, so I was getting
I
this,
love that.
This spirit wink. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I didn't get it it might have been a year. To me, it felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I started seeing 22, which is my favorite number.
No, you're not saying that right now. I just had all over chills.
Okay, yeah, it's my
that is my magic number.
It's a master number. Are you
my
born on the
goodness.
22nd? Because I'm
I'm
born.
born on the 24th.
Okay, I'm born on the 22nd, which is why it's my favorite number.
People close to me know that 22 is like my
Wow.
power. So you and I have this.
Wow.
There's another kindred
Wow,
mystic
there you go.
connection.
Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah, I started seeing 22s and
Yeah.
all these license plates.
Wow.
And then there would be moments where I would get 322. Which is my actual birthday, March 22nd.
Wow,
So when
yes.
I would see that, it was kind of like, hey, like, lady, like, let's get it, really wake up. We're here.
Right.
That's to me like the loudspeaker.
Yes.
There's like the wink and then there's like, we're shoving you.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, like, it felt like when I see 22, it reminds me of like, you're in the right place, you're on the right path.
Yes.
Drops you
Yes.
into that moment. And I moved into my old place when I lived in Venice, and the address was 222. And I was like, this is meant to be. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And,
And, it's funny. I'm hearing a friend of mine who's, less aligned with the sort of beautiful synchronicity of it and the spirit sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think, and how do you feel? Is it like because you've already thought that, therefore it manifests, or do you think that it is manifesting to remind you, right? In terms of seeing the numbers.
I do believe that it's both, actually. I think that because sometimes I'm not even conscious of it, and then boom, it's like there, or it's, I do believe that we are co-creating our experience. Absolutely. Like the quantum field is real. And, we could be in simultaneous places at once, past, present, and future. And we are creating as we are thinking things and feeling things into being. We are co-creating with the universe.
Yes.
I do believe that strongly. And you get really present to that when you put yourself in a place of elevated feeling or consciousness, and then things are drawn to you more.
Yeah.
And you create more. And then there's other times when, I don't feel like that. And I feel, there's doubt that comes in and other things that we feel as artists, that we struggle with. And then we could be in that place. And, and it's important to know how to kind of bring yourself out of that.
What's been one of the most impactful tools for you in terms of bringing yourself out of that?
Definitely chanting in my practice. I feel like the second that I sit down, I become super present, and I definitely feel like I awaken my wisdom, back to like, wow, you are the Buddha, you are Buddhahood, you are unlimited. And I think that when I go create, when I write a song or do poetry or music, I feel like, it translates, but it manifests in that. Like when I'm creating, I feel like it helps me get out of that space, and I get into another space of like this potential, this pure potential. And the muse sort of shows up when you go sit down and do it. You're like, there it is, but you have to show up for it, and then that can like instantly bring you to a better place. Right.
I love that you also just said you have to show up for it.
Yes. Because a lot of times we want to be like, I need to feel inspired, and it's really, and it's hard because I don't always do it. But, when you just sit down and do the work, when you sit down and you write, or I sit down and I start creating a piece, it starts, even if it doesn't feel perfect right away or perfect at all, there's something in that creation where the muses show up, and they're like, here's the inspiration is in the doing. And, we can't wait always to be inspired. Oh, now I'm inspired. Now I'm going to do it. I think it feeds each other. You have to show up. And I remember reading this book. Have you ever read The War of Art?
I was just going to say Stephen Pressfield.
Stephen Pressfield. Yeah. Yes. And I read that and I was like, yes. We struggle with this as artists, that sort of resistance.
I know nothing about resistance.
Yeah, I know nothing
she
about
says
it.
sarcastically.
Exactly. So we struggle with this resistance. And I mean, I think he refers to it as like this little demon, you know, and it feels like that because it can really pull us down.
Yeah.
And I fight that sometimes. And I feel like, you know, I always remember that is just to show up and to do it. And like we can create from this moment that the beauty and the power is in the moment. It's not from the past. And a lot of times we go, oh, it didn't work out then, or it, you know, it's something we were traumatized by or something happened. And, you know, it gets us feeling, you know, unmotivated or in a place of not creating. But then when we actually show up and do it, that's really where the magic lies.
I think, yeah, that it takes resilience to be human.
Yes. Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
And so the practice has been helping you.
Definitely. I mean, it's a lifesaver, quite honestly.
Yeah.
To just show up consistently with any practice that you do, honestly.
Yes. I mean, working out.
Everything is a practice.
Relationship.
Yes.
All of that.
It's a work and it's a practice. And yeah, there is an effortlessness to certain things, but I think that you definitely have to, yeah, it's definitely work.
Do you have like a deeper motivation that keeps you in that forward trajectory, like to help give you that resilience?
Absolutely. I feel like for me, it's about connecting with others. You know, it's being an artist. Yeah, you can be a bit isolated in the creating of the work, but then in the sharing of the work, you know, that's what keeps me really motivated is connecting to people. And, you know, when I perform and I feel nervous, I'm like, just connect to one life, you know, one person, like you're going to inspire one person. And I feel like after a show or something, someone always comes up to me, you know, whether it's one person or a few people and just tell, you know, they really share with me that they were inspired and even through my jewelry and my work. And I get told that often. And I feel so grateful that people connect in that way and that it touches them in that way. And I think that's really my motivation is like to create beauty and to have it touch people and inspire people to sort of be their best self. And then, you know, we all can win.
Yes. Yeah. To like light that up in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's been a big motivation for me.
And so you just mentioned the jewelry. What, when did you realize you have this gift with, you know, stones and, you know, creating beauty in that particular way?
It was sort of in my early 20s and I was always sort of acting and writing a bit and I didn't really ever think of myself as a jewelry designer. And I started making these little beaded bracelets. I'd go to this bead store on Main Street and I was making these little beaded bracelets and I just was like, oh, love the stones. And I love just like putting stuff together. And I was very tactile. I learned I was very tactile, you know, with my hands and I wanted to create with my hands. And I just was always just blown away by the beauty of the stones. And that the earth creates these like amazing stones, you know, then we come from the earth, these stones come from the earth. And it's like these magical opalescent stones and just different colors. And it just blew me away. And I started making these little bracelets and people were buying them. You know, they started buying them. I'll buy one. I'm like, really? Okay. And so I started selling these little bracelets and then I went into some stores and they were like, I'll buy those bracelets. And, and it kind of went from there. And yeah, I just started slowly making jewelry. And it was just such a kind of a surprise to me. Sometimes it finds you. You don't even know you're really looking to do that.
Yeah.
And then I was always thought of it as sort of a hobby, and then it's just sort of taken over in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because this is such a huge part of what you do offer, and I mean the pieces are stunning. I have on a pair today.
Yes, you're wearing your moonstone, baby.
Yes, I love, and you do so much great with moonstone. But it's interesting because it sounds like, you know, there was just this natural, like you said, flow, and things, you know, find you.
Yeah.
But sometimes that doesn't end up equating into
Right.
you know, a whole business,
Yeah.
right? And this whole career where, I mean, your pieces have been worn by famous people and on TV show, you know, and all, like, you know, it's, you
Yeah.
know, you've created a great amount of success.
Thank you.
Yeah, with your jewelry. And so this probably sounds a little silly, but like, is there for you a conscious spiritual connection to your creation of the jewelry?
I would say yes. It's definitely an emanation of my love and my spirit. And I think when we all do things that we absolutely love, you know, it's this song of love, you know, it's a manifestation of that love. And, you know, I do create from a place of wanting to connect to people and create beauty. And, I mean, back to what you were saying before, like I would go to these exhibits, you know, with like, you know, these amazing pharaohs and, you know, these ancient Egyptian beautiful pieces of jewelry on these beautiful people. And I was like, wow, lapis and these amazing stones. And so I always had this, you know, passion for also the ancient, you know, merging the ancient with the modern. And there's a lot of people feel like there's this really like ancient feel to my pieces. And I feel like that comes through me, like from other lifetimes.
Yes.
You know, like I don't, sometimes I'm like, I created that. Like, how did that just come through me? And even when I started doing the lost wax casting, like I started, you know, which definitely satiated my need for tactile for touching it and like shaping it.
Yeah.
And when I started doing that, I was just really taken with the fact that right away the pieces that I was creating were coming through me like that, like my moon ring with opal and like all these different pieces were coming through me. And the first pieces that I've made have turned out to be my best sellers. Like the first pieces that I even sat down to make, you know, wound up are still pieces that people are like loving and connecting to. And it came through me in a way that it was almost as if I've been doing it for, as I said, for lifetimes.
Wow.
Even though I never worked in that medium before, you know, I've been obviously creating jewelry, and that helps. But yeah, it was just, I think sometimes it's just like you hear people, they pick up a guitar, you know, and they like, it was as if they played it their whole life or for lifetimes.
Right.
And, you know, I sort of felt that with that medium.
With the wax casting.
With the wax casting, yeah.
And have you had glimpses of some of your past lives, or ever had any readings to discover more about them?
I have, and what's come through a lot, and I feel like it's almost cliche, but you know, even the place I live in, it's like this duplex kind of place, and it has these like spires, you know, and I just look out and I'm like, wow, I don't know. I just feel like there was definitely like a royalty, you know, and there's this like almost, as I said, like from ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And like with my Buddhist practice, it's like a Japanese form of Buddhism. And sometimes I feel like it's this ancient samurai Japanese, you know, time. And then there's an ancient Egyptian. So yeah, there's definitely glimpses of that for me.
I feel actually, I'm sitting here feeling the Egyptian.
Yes.
Yeah. That
I
was
know.
Like the first thing that I like kind of touched upon. And your essence.
And just the pieces coming out of me, I'm like, wow, this like, you know, this is like an ancient pyramid eye. And this is, you know, a mystical, magical like moon and, you know, cosmos and universe. I don't know.
There also feels in some of your pieces, like Tibetan. I mean, maybe that's like the Buddhist.
Yeah,
you know,
and I do integrate pieces that are handmade in Tibet, like the little pearl that I use, and I add in little charms from Tibet that are kind of handmade there. So I'd like to integrate, you know, pieces also that are made from other places.
Yeah,
give that world feel, and different energies come into it.
And then do you consider like the different healing properties of the stones that you work with?
I do, yeah. And sometimes I'm not as technical about it. Sometimes it's just a very like visceral, like, whoa, like I just connect to this stone so much. And then I find out more about it and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You know, and I think that there's definitely like these deep meanings in these pieces, but sometimes it's just, how does it make you feel? How does it like open your heart and light you up? And and sometimes you can't explain it. It just, you feel it when you have it on.
Isn't that like, wouldn't that be just the most beautiful litmus test if we all were taught, like, how does it make your heart feel? Does it light your heart up, you know?
Does it light you up?
Yes. Then go forward or not. Yeah.
Yeah, because we get so in our heads sometimes about everything, you know?
Everything.
And it's very linear.
Yeah, if we were taught those ways of our sixth sense, you know?
Yes. Tapping you in beyond your linear thoughts and going from that place. And that's been a big thing for me too, is coming from that place.
And is a lot of the poetry and the songwriting, does it come more from that visceral place first?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. It's definitely not in my head at all. It's not coming from that place at all. Sometimes there's a theme. You know, I'll write for somebody or a campaign, or I'll have a specific theme in mind, and then it'll come from that place. But a lot of times I just sit down and it just pours out of me. I mean, I feel like it used to even more. Like I would just sit down and all of a sudden I would write a whole entire piece in 20 minutes, you know, and it would just pour out of me. And it was just, there it is. And then I think of how, you know, actually in Buddhism, the original Buddha that you always hear about, you know, he in his second to last teaching, the Lotus Sutra, which I practice, he says, first of all, everyone's equal among us, but he wrote it all in parables. He wrote all this text in metaphors and parables. And he would say, you know, when you write in that way, in poetry or parables, it hits people in a different place. It's beyond reason. It's beyond your linear thoughts.
Yes.
And it hits you in a place that is palpable, where you could like digest things and understand them and connect to them in a human way that perhaps you wouldn't be able to if you were just talking about it. You know, so that is something I always think of too, and how it comes through.
Yeah.
How the poetry and the words come through. And you know, my passion too with integrating music with it, and how that just hits you in a whole other place too.
Yes, to bring in that like the level of musical vocalization.
Yes.
Right.
And then playing with, you know, amazing musicians with the poetry, like it's so rhythmic. You know, I call it like rhythmic storytelling, because it's, you know, it's this like song and rhythm, but it's spoken. And then there's also song with it too, singing. But it is like a song, and it's very melodic, and you know, it you know, creates this feeling that's, I think, beyond sort of when you can just, oh, well, let's just talk about it. You know.
Well, and I'm thinking about, of course, everything being some kind of vibration, and then those vibrations that you bring, particularly with music and with the words and the tonality of it all, and how that not only can, you know, shift a room, but how that can also alter someone's experience in that moment, and possibly their whole consciousness.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. And beyond what the rational mind even knows is happening, you know, and it does. It's, you know, when we hear also, like, think about going to a concert and hearing a song, and we all come together and we're like unified. We're like one, you know, we're just like beyond what, you know, our political beliefs are, or our, you know, thoughts about the world and ourselves, and you know, it unifies us in that way, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I hadn't been to a like stadium concert in a long time, and I went to the Forum and saw Lizzo.
Oh, great.
Which was amazing, like amazing. I just adore her. But the thing that just kept bowling me over, right, was this collective experience that we were all having. Yeah. You know, through the sound, through of course, the visuals and the messages. Yes. And I love watching people, you know, in general, but certainly to see their reaction, to see their experience that others were having, and watching people's bodies move and their facial expressions, right? Like, is that something that, I mean, I've performed a bit myself, not in the same way you have, but I keep my singing to the shower, but or the car. But I've been on stages, and so do you ever find yourself kind of locking in or getting affected by the audience?
I think it's inseparable. Yes, I believe I get so affected, and it's such an amazing feeling as an artist to have people connecting with you and feeling it and feeling their presence and that they're with you, and that, when they're like, yeah, and they just look at you and they're like, yeah. And it just brings it out even more, it brings you out even more as an artist. I think I have learned a little more to no matter what is going on outside, to just create and to do and to be in that space, because you can't completely rely, on the audience. But I do think that it's so helpful. And, the reactions that I get, a lot of times are so strong, and people connect so much to the words and the music. And they feel, a sense of, they tell me like they feel elevated, or they feel like inspired. And it's the best feeling in the world. Yeah. It's such an amazing feeling. And it lights you up, it lights them up. And it's this give and take. And it's so important. What would we do without an audience? I mean, I guess, so much is online now. We could record and create, but there is something about that live.
Oh, the IRL.
Yes.
The IRL, which also is what makes such a difference. I mean, that's been one of my big sticklers also just about this show. So many people are like, oh, can't we just do it over Zoom and this and that? I'm like, no. I know.
Nor do I really want to.
Yeah. And I'm not, necessarily saying I'm mad at that, and I get the convenience. And I think, there's a different thing when you're in a room with somebody.
There is.
Period.
There is.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of meetings now on Zoom with in different ways, and I just connect so much more, obviously, like in person. It's just such a different experience. Like you can connect with someone's eyes and their spirit, and it's like it's such a different thing.
Yeah, that when you said that in terms of connecting with eyes and spirit, we can see each other over Zoom or video conferencing and all that, but I'm interested to know your thoughts and feelings around connecting to the spirit with the use of technology.
Yeah. I'm very split on it. I have a very love-hate relationship with technology. In some ways it keeps us connected. I mean, we get to see what's going on in the world, whether it's super devastating or not, or incredible. But technology is an amazing way to connect, but it's also separated a lot of us. And like a lot of these young kids, they're like comparing themselves with all these people, and technology is. And I think when I was younger, I feel like I got to do things without social media, and that was so freeing. Now that I look back, in some ways, like we didn't realize it then, but now it's like I heard people don't even feel like they experience life unless they're posting about it. So in some ways I love it, and in some ways I think it's destroying people and their connections too. It's a very split thing for me. I
really wonder about, again, like sort of the spiritual side for people, and what that's doing, and
right,
how that's affecting where we're going overall.
Yeah.
Right. As there's so much more access to information, period. And I think there's so much more openness to spirituality and metaphysical information and metaphysical tools. And yet at the same time, is it...
Well, I think so much is through community. Sangha is like our group and our friendships and coming together, and really like we need to come together. We need to have that in our circles, in our lives. We lost a lot of that, obviously, for a couple of years. We sort of all had to do that for a little bit, but it's so important to connect, and that's why art is so important. And sharing it is so important, and it's actually essential, because nowadays so much is technology. Like, they know what we're doing at every moment, what we're buying, what we're doing, every step we take is basically, they know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the way to really free yourself from that is through art. It's the only way to really do that is through connecting, through creating, through dialogue, and through art and coming together. I think that is the way to rebel against all of that.
Yeah.
Is to do that.
What's your definition of art right now?
Art to me is, I think, anything where you're creating from your heart. Heart, creating from your heart. And, it doesn't have to be, something you sell. Art is something that is an action that you create from a sense of, feeling and a sense of wanting to connect. And it could be in any form, really. I mean, and a beautiful art could be through connecting with your family and your children in a certain way. And, it doesn't have to be, if you don't feel like you're a particularly like creative person, it doesn't have to stop you. And I do believe that everybody, like, some people say, oh, I'm just not creative. I'm just not artistic. It's like, I don't believe that. I don't know. I think that I think we were told certain things, and I know certain people have certain gifts. Some people are more type A, and they're more like organized, and they do things in a certain way. But I think it's healthy to create something, even if you go beyond your comfort zone to try something new.
Yes.
And I think that's important. We get stuck in I'm this and I'm that, and we're so compartmentalized, and sometimes if we just let ourselves explore and remain curious.
What a concept.
Right. And curiosity keeps coming up.
Yes.
Like, always stay curious and keep growing in your art, keep growing in what you love to do and create. Don't stay static.
I keep thinking, I'm thinking about art, I'm thinking about food. Because
Yes.
pretty much think about food a lot. I love
do
food,
too.
right? And
Yes.
So I'm like, there's so much, art that's like food.
Yes.
And the creative process of that. And oh my goodness, and all,
the
chefs
culinary
and
arts.
Oh my God, the culinary arts, like unbelievable. So yummy, yummy, yummy.
Yummy.
And I also really appreciate the reminder of art, heart, like the art-heart connection.
Yeah.
So whatever does come from your heart is an art form.
It is. Definitely. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
It is an art form. I think living nowadays is an art form. Just breathing and living and learning how to find value in things and create from that place, and, just the art of living.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and I think that's what I was also referencing a little bit before, when I was saying, hey, the resilience piece, right? That you have to be resilient.
Yes.
To be in the art of living.
Yes.
These days. I mean, do you see that as a culture? I mean, here we are in Los Angeles, so I realize we are some of the privileged ones in terms of living amongst a spiritually minded group. So let's zoom out from LA for a bit, if we can, because we are in rarefied waters here.
Right.
Do you see the world waking up and going towards more of a spiritual consciousness?
I do, but I think inherent in life is that duality. It's constantly fighting the negativity. And it's that balance. I think more and more people are waking up, and they are seeing beyond the mundane and beyond the veil, into what really matters at the heart of it, and our connectedness and our shared humanity. And that we all need to help each other. We all can raise each other up by using our voices of privilege, that we have, and being able to really fight for people who don't have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people are waking up, and everyone's on a different journey and a different place in their evolution and their path. Unfortunately, we see so much that is troubling and so sad right now, and people that are being oppressed, like the women in Iran and people all around the world. And my heart is with them, and I think I'm growing and learning, more ways that I could be of service and help, and how I can do that. So, I think people are waking up to free people from that oppression, that we all deserve to have liberty and a life of freedom.
What's one way that you're finding liberating for yourself, and that's a contribution that maybe can inspire some listeners?
I think living in a way that feels authentic, because that's really the place that we need to come from, is from that source of authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do. I mean, I want to save the world, I want to do that, and I want to do it in my own way. But I think that the way to really create change is living completely in our authenticity. And that means fully realizing our mission of what we want to create in the world, and how we want to move people or touch people or contribute, live a contributive life, which I've learned a lot in my Buddhist practice of, kind of how to live that contributive life by supporting others, and through our own awakening to our own potential.
Yeah.
And authenticity in the way of not pushing down our gifts, not feeling bad about sharing our gifts, like what, but really sharing it with the world in a way that feels true to us. And that, I think, is a way to really do that in our own way, in our own little microcosm of the world, macrocosm, is to live authentically.
Yeah.
And that means not holding down in our gifts and valuing ourselves enough to really put things out there and create, and to inspire people and to connect.
Yeah. It's like one of my favorite lines from Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
You youngins might not remember that movie. It doesn't hold up.
I love that movie.
I don't know. It's still
Jerry Maguire. That was the best.
It was a fun rom-com.
Such a good one.
I mean,
such an inspiring one.
For sure. One problematic line, in there that was like one of the most famous lines. But the line I was thinking about when we were talking about authenticity, I don't want to derail myself here, is, when Cuba Gooding is in the locker room basically with Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise's character, and going, "These are the ABCs of me, baby." Right? I mean, he was so authentically himself, and knew his gifts, and was like unabashedly like, "This is me, and I am going to be me, loud and proud." Right? Yeah. And it inspired his family.
Yes.
And it inspired the characters, his agent in the movie. And so I really appreciate that you brought this to this conversation, because I think particularly for women, right? We are, as you're saying, of course, still all over around the world, and even in America, we are still being held back in many ways, or wanting to be made less powerful and have less autonomy, and and so to really authentically be oneself that in itself takes resilience.
Yes.
This might be the new theme of this, this whole conversation, that resilience. Yes. And I know when I see anybody just being them, like, those are the people that I get excited about.
Yes. It's very liberating, and it's very inspiring. I know when I see somebody rocking their essence, and I'm like, yeah. And it makes me feel like, gives me permission.
Yes.
It gives you permission to, like, rock what is, what's in you.
Rock your mojo.
Rock your mojo, baby. Yeah.
Exactly.
And just by being you in your essence, and by me being me, that is a gift, to, when people could really just be themselves and, be so lit up with that. And that's inspiring. If we can all just be lit up, you know, imagine the force of change that we could create in the world, you know, just when we're all activated. And it does take a lot, you know, of breaking through that resistance and breaking through that, that doubt that we all have, you know, that creeps in there, you know.
And I think there's like the willingness, well, the willingness to be oneself.
Yeah.
But there's also what I'm really feeling and kind of getting right now is the willingness to be happy.
Yes.
Do you feel like that those go kind of hand in hand? That like, okay, I can be myself, but also I can be happy?
Yes. And I think that is inseparable. I think being joyful and being happy, I think that is just such a big goal.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a thing to aspire to, you know, is that just, and not because of anything, you know, not because you get something or that you know, of course we want health and we want to achieve things and we want all, you know, and there's nothing wrong with desires, you know, that is fuel, you know, a lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with desire. It's just being grateful, you know, with what we do have and seeing the beauty in that. Yeah. And just being truly happy. Yeah.
I love that. That was not modeled to me. And so it's like, to me, that is still very much one of my, it's a place where I continue to sharpen my tools. Right?
Sharpen your sword.
Sharpen my sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's funny, I'll all of a sudden be like, wait a minute. You're allowed to feel joy for no reason at all. Exactly. You know, like it's okay, even though there's all of this shit happening right now, and you got X problem and Y problem and whatever. You still can be joyful. Yeah. And by the way, it makes then dealing with those problems more fun.
It's true. And a lot of times, it's actually the joy and the happiness comes through surmounting those problems. You know, or like whatever. You know, resist, you know, those challenges that we have. It's kind of when we move through it, we're like, we can be even more joyful.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, this crazy thing called life.
Yes, it is. Like what Prince.
I know.
This thing called life.
God, talk about you know, the muse.
Oh,
you know, just
such a muse.
Endless creativity.
Endless.
Do you have a favorite Prince song?
Oh, there's so many.
I know. I was like, if anybody ever asked me that, I'm like, fuck
okay,
you.
I have one. Like, I want to be your lover. Want to turn you on all night long. Make sure I love her.
Come on. Yes.
That's definitely such a good one. But there's so many good ones.
Yeah. Housequake happens to be one of
Housequake.
Oh, we're going way back. We're going back in the catalog.
Yeah.
It happens. I have not all, but a lot of times, like music rights and songs will get linked to a moment.
Yeah.
And a memory.
Oh yes,
so
for sure.
That one is linked to a really beautiful memory from a summer long ago.
Ooh, love it.
A summer long ago.
It's amazing how music can bring you that nostalgia back from the certain time.
And speaking of, you know, with your music, I do want to just let listeners know, stay and hang out until the very, you know, end, because after the usual close of the episode, we have a special of one of your pieces to wind up the episode.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely.
I could talk to you for a really long time.
I know,
and
you too.
I'm going to ask you the 2 signature questions of the show.
Yeah.
And I encourage you, it's like, again, it's kind of like when you sit down and the muse just goes through you, whatever kind of first flies through, because there's so many answers to these questions.
Okay.
Whatever that is, let her rip.
Okay.
So of all the things, what's one thing that no matter what will always tune you into spirit?
Definitely chanting in my, you know, my morning and evening practice just drops me right in.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. That's definitely one thing. There's a few.
Right. Yeah, that's what, and that's why there are many answers.
There's a few. Yeah. Turning on like a favorite song and just dancing too is just, that is a way to just remove the static.
Yes.
Drop away the static.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. And then the other question is, of all the things, what's one thing that will always turn you on?
One thing that will always turn me on is definitely reciting a good poem and singing and performing with a band, and just that feeling of connectedness in that way. It's just expression in that way. Sharing.
I can feel that actually in my body. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I get that. Oh, beautiful. Well, Brooke, thank you. Not only for being here, but, for literally being the light that you are, and for being yourself so beautifully and authentically, and sharing your voice in the multiple ways that you share your voice, and for creating such beauty with all of your jewelry, and in the way that you adorn the world. So I appreciate all that you are. It's a beautiful example for many, and it's a beautiful inspiration.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
And you're such a beautiful reflection. And
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. My pleasure. Well, everybody, it has been yet again another fabulous conversation here on The Real Undressed, and it is simply bye for now.